his peak, David Anthony Burke, known simply as David, was the voice of a generation. His songs like Romantic Homicide and Here With Me turned teenage loneliness into art, earning him millions of streams and a devoted following who saw him as the rare artist who felt real. But in September 2024, that illusion shattered. From a Gen Z icon, he became a killer, or at least that's what the evidence began to whisper.
Police say a 15-year-old girl was found in pieces in the trunk of singer David's car.
The boy who once made the world cry with his music was now at the center of a nightmare that would make it cry for an entirely different reason. How could the boy who sang about heartbreak become the author of one? How does a voice that once soothed millions turn into the sound of something monstrous? And most chilling of all, had he been confessing through his music all along? This is the story of David. On September 8, 2024, an employee at a Los Angeles tow yard called the police after noticing the stench seeping from the trunk of a Tesla that had been sitting there for days. The car had been abandoned in the Hollywood Hills, baking under the California sun for nearly a week. When investigators pried it open, what they found inside didn't just horrify them, it would soon horrify an entire generation. Black plastic bags, flesh, decay, a body dismembered and left to rot in the dark. Forensics estimated it had been there for nearly a month. The license plate led them straight to one of the biggest names in Gen Z music, David Anthony Burke, known to the world as David. Meanwhile, David was on tour, smiling on stage, moving through his setlist like nothing had happened. Videos from that night showed him performing Here With Me under soft purple lights as fans swayed and sang every word. But then everything shifted. 9 days later, the coroner's office confirmed the victim's identity. Celeste Rivas, a 14-year-old girl from Lake Elsinore, missing since May. Her 15th birthday had been just 1 day before her remains were discovered. It was her mother who provided the final piece. A small tattoo on her right index finger that read, "Shush." It matched the one in the missing persons report. But when the photos spread online, one chilling detail emerged. David had the exact same tattoo in the exact same place. Investigators began to uncover what no one wanted to believe. Photos of David in Celeste's hometown, screenshots of alleged texts, leaked messages from private servers. Each new discovery tightened the timeline and stripped away the possibility of coincidence. The mystery of the body in the Tesla was no longer just a crime scene. It was a revelation, a glimpse into how beauty, fame, and darkness can coexist in one carefully curated image. And as the evidence mounted, one truth became impossible to ignore. The monster had been hiding in plain sight all along. He was the kind of artist people called different. David Anthony Burke, or simply David, had built his empire on melancholy. His voice was soft, his lyrics raw, his image disarmingly gentle. To millions of Gen Z fans, he wasn't just another musician, he was the embodiment of their loneliness, the boy who turned pain into poetry. Every song felt like a secret whispered into the dark, every photo a confession waiting to be understood. But in September 2024, that illusion began to crack. The first photo appeared like a spark in dry grass, a blurry shot of David standing outside a small strip mall in Lake Elsinore, the same town where Celeste Rivas had lived before she vanished. It looked ordinary, almost harmless, until someone posted the caption that made the internet stop scrolling. He was allegedly paying people to keep her age quiet. That single claim ignited a wildfire. Within hours, Reddit threads multiplied. Discord servers caught flame. Anonymous accounts began dropping receipts, screenshots, private DMs, fragments of live streams, each one darker than the last. Someone claimed to have hacked David's iCloud and leaked photos of him with a girl who looked unmistakably like Celeste. In one image, he appeared to be smiling at the camera. In another, his hand seemed to rest gently on her shoulder. Her face was blurred, but the freckles, the hair, the outline all matched the missing person posters that had blanketed California months earlier. At first, people tried to rationalize. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it was just a look-alike. But then came the video. It was a Twitch stream from January 2024. The clip began innocently. David was sitting in his bedroom studio, joking with a girl off camera. Her voice sounded young, teasing, until she suddenly accused him of being a child rapist. What followed was an awkward silence. Then David, visibly shaken, told her to delete everything. Every VOD, every trace of the stream. Within hours, the clip was everywhere, and buried in the live chat were comments that, in hindsight, felt chillingly aware. Jokes about Epstein Island, remarks implying that some viewers already knew about the girl. At the time, no one had taken it seriously. They laughed and then moved on. When one of David's closest streamer friends, Jason the Weenie, resurfaced, his tone had changed entirely. In a shaky live stream, he said he wanted to retract everything he'd previously defended. He admitted meeting a girl named Celeste at one of David's house parties and said he could no longer condone what David had done, calling the situation wicked. That word hung in the air like a curse. Then came the Discord leaks. Screenshots from David's private server revealed messages stretching back to 2021, when Celeste would have been 11. In one exchange, a user named Celeste sent a string of heart emojis, and David replied that she was mine. In another, he mentioned that he and a deleted user had a kid on the way. There were references to a ring, a tattoo, the same one that read David. One user, going by the name Ponzalo, tried to intervene, warning others that David was a pedophile and saying he would tell everyone. But no one listened. His messages were buried, ignored, lost beneath the noise of devotion. Even David's music began to sound different. A leaked track titled Celeste, briefly uploaded to SoundCloud in December 2023, carried lyrics that now made the stomach twist. About a girl with his name tattooed on her chest, her smile on his clothes, her voice in his head. When listeners realized Celeste had been only 13 at the time, the song's intimacy turned disturbing. Even his breakout hit Romantic Homicide, once seen as a melancholic anthem, took on a new, sinister meaning. The line, "In the back of my mind, I killed you and I didn't even regret it," no longer felt poetic. It felt like evidence. Old TikToks resurfaced too. In one, David joked about pouring boiling water on a girl after she wished another boy happy birthday. In another, he fantasized about being a cannibal, saying he would eat his lover's bones if she died. What once passed as dark humor now read like foreshadowing. Piece by piece, the myth of David, the tortured poet, the misunderstood romantic, began to disintegrate. What once seemed like emotional depth now looked like the slow unraveling of a predator. By the time the Discord screenshots reached mainstream news, there was no room left for doubt. The story had grown beyond a crime. It had become an autopsy of an illusion. The boy who sang about heartbreak was now defined by the heartbreak he may have caused, the loss of a young life, and a generation's dawning realization that sometimes the art was the confession all along. By late September, the story had devoured everything it touched. The charts, the fan pages, the playlists. What began as rumor had hardened into something undeniable: the fall of David. The day Celeste Rivas's name became public, his world began to collapse in real time. Concert venues quietly removed his posters. Labels froze communication. Collaborators scrubbed his name from press materials. What had once been applause turned into silence. That awful kind of silence that doesn't wait for explanation, only confirmation. And yet, amid the chaos, David stayed quiet. No statement, no denial, no apology, just silence. The same silence that had filled the trunk of that Tesla, now echoing across the internet. The police were moving too? On the same day the coroner confirmed Celeste's identity, investigators traced the car's GPS back to a house in the Hollywood Hills, just blocks from a mansion his manager had rented that summer. Photos on David's Instagram showed him inside, lounging by the pool, writing lyrics, smiling. the LAPD obtained a search warrant. Detectives and forensics teams arrived with gloves and flashlights, combing through every inch of the property. Neighbors watched as black garbage bags were carried out and loaded into unmarked vans. Inside them, officials said, were potential pieces of evidence. They didn't say what kind. They didn't have to. News helicopters hovered overhead. The scene looked less like an investigation and more like an autopsy, not of a person, but of a career. TMZ broadcast footage of detectives walking in and out of the home as commentators speculated live. Social media did what it does best: fill in the blanks. Some said blood had been found in the car. Others claimed the lyrics to Romantic Homicide were now being treated as a psychological clue. None of it was confirmed, but at that point, confirmation didn't matter. The narrative had already solidified. The idol was guilty. When David finally broke his silence, it wasn't with words. His team announced that he had canceled the remainder of his withered tour, citing personal and legal matters. Sources close to him told reporters he was cooperating fully with detectives. But cooperation isn't innocence, and the court of public opinion had already handed down its verdict. His Spotify numbers plummeted. TikTok trends using his songs disappeared overnight. Even those who once defended him deleted their tweets. The internet that had built him was now dismantling him, line by line, lyric by lyric. As the weeks passed, the details only grew darker. Discord messages surfaced suggesting that Celeste might have been pregnant before her death. A theory supported by screenshots of David joking, "Me and deleted user got a kid on the way." Another image showed a girl wearing a ring and a tattoo of the name David on her finger. Whether those images were real or fabricated no longer mattered. The damage was done. Every new leak fed the same narrative, that the story of Romantic Homicide had never been a metaphor. It had been a warning. And yet, beneath the outrage, a quieter horror settled in. It wasn't just that a beloved artist had possibly done something unspeakable. It was the dawning realization that thousands of people had seen the signs and said nothing. Fans who noticed the age gap, moderators who deleted suspicious chats, streamers who laughed off confessions as bit jokes. The internet wasn't just a witness, it was an accomplice. In the end, there were no closing statements, no public arrest, no satisfying headline of justice served, just a void, a silence louder than his music ever was. Whether David would face prison or somehow slip through the cracks of legality didn't matter anymore. His name had already become a cautionary tale. Somewhere online, the comments keep climbing, half demanding punishment, half wondering how no one saw it sooner. And in the endless scroll of likes, threads, and outrage, one truth remains. On the internet, nothing truly dies, except the illusion of innocence. For weeks, David said nothing. The silence was so absolute it almost felt strategic. A void his fans and critics alike filled with theories, edits, and outrage. His accounts remained online but untouched, like digital ruins of a past life. Smiling photos, vague captions, lyrics about heartbreak that now read like threats. The more he stayed quiet, the louder the noise around him grew. Then, one morning, a statement appeared. Not a video, not a press conference. Just a few paragraphs released through his label's PR team. It said David was cooperating with authorities, that he was devastated by the misinformation circulating online, and that he would be taking time away to reflect. No direct denial, no mention of Celeste, no acknowledgement of the evidence that had consumed the internet. To most, it read less like defense and more like surrender disguised as professionalism. His label attempted damage control, quietly scrubbing his face from promotional banners and playlists, while insisting the investigation was ongoing. A few industry allies tried to reframe the narrative. He's young, he's overwhelmed, he's misunderstood. But the words landed flat. The public had already decided who he was, and no rebrand could reach across that chasm. Even the attempt felt insulting. You can't spin tragedy into PR. You can only watch it rot. In the absence of facts, myth filled the gaps. Some fans swore he'd fled Los Angeles, hiding in Houston under a new name. Others believed he was secretly working on a confession album, a final statement that would drop unannounced. Threads speculated about lyrics being used as evidence in court. Each new rumor blurred the line between reality and spectacle. The same cycle that had once made him famous now feeding on his downfall. Then came the apology live stream, a 23-minute video uploaded to an alternate account that some claimed was him. The man on screen sat in near darkness, voice trembling, camera angled low. "You think you know me?" he said softly. "You don't." The rest was a ramble, disjointed, defensive, filled with cryptic lines about people lying for clout and art being misread. He never said Celeste's name. He never said sorry. Within an hour, the video vanished, deleted or taken down, but not before it was clipped, mirrored, and re-uploaded across every platform. It became proof, not of guilt or innocence, but of something far simpler, a man completely unraveling under the weight of his own silence. By the end of 2024, the music industry had erased him. His Spotify artist page remained but carried a quiet disclaimer: no active releases. His collaboration with SZA disappeared from official credits. Rumors of canceled partnerships surfaced weekly. The industry wasn't angry, it was clinical. He had become radioactive. No one wanted to touch him. And yet, in the corners of the internet that never forget, his songs still played. Romantic Homicide resurfaced on TikTok in slowed-down edits, often paired with true crime montages or grainy clips of Celeste smiling before she vanished. The comments were chillingly detached. "This hits different now." He was literally telling us, genius and insanity are the same thing sometimes. The art had outlived the artist, but twisted beyond recognition. When Internet Anarchist released a follow-up video, it wasn't about guilt or innocence anymore. It was about the aftermath, how a myth disintegrates once the truth enters the room. David tried to outlast his story, the narrator says in the closing monologue. But stories like his don't die. They just echo, quieter each time, until all that's left is the ghost of what we thought he was. And that's where he remains now, a ghost in the algorithm. His music still streams, his name still trends, but behind every replay is a question no redemption arc can answer. Was he ever the person we thought he was, or just the reflection of what we wanted to believe?